I find it just fascinating how stupid the mass swath of the Canadian population is. You look down in the States, down in the United States, and again, I played 4 years of professional hockey. I lived in multiple places throughout the States. The U.S. was friendlier, it was safer, they were kinder, and my quality of life from 2022 up until 2024 dramatically better than my quality of life in Canada. And it's interesting because Canadians have always made fun of Americans. Oh, they're dumb. They don't know what they're talking about. They're so stupid. Well, if you look at what has happened in Canada, and let's back this up for a second. I want to go to 2018, 2019. Canadians, we want a bigger minimum wage. Minimum wage people need to get paid more. Well, the problem with the minimum wage going up is that the corporations could definitely afford it, but the bottom level companies can't. That's how you bankrupt small and medium-sized businesses. But so in Ontario, our biggest province here in Canada, they jacked the minimum wage up from $15 an hour to $18 an hour back in 2019. And Tim Hortons immediately started laying off full-time employees and cutting benefits, saying we can't afford this. And you think about it in the grand scheme of things, you basically had a 20% increase in your labor. And if I don't know what the exact numbers are, but let's say they're spending, $200 million a year on labor. Now you're spending, do some math in my head, $250 million in labor. Doesn't look good for the shareholders or for the profits. So they started cutting the benefits. They started cutting staff. Everybody's going part-time, so you're not going to get the full-time benefits. And then enter in the scamdemic of 2020. Now, watch this. We have a massive labor shortage. We need more labor. You never heard the words high-skilled labor. We have a labor shortage. I'd argue it's the corporations telling the politicians, we're tired of paying Canadians, Canadian wages. Those stupid Canadians have such high expectations. They want their pension, they want their benefits, they want their dental. They only want to work 8 hours and they complain about standards. Well, why don't we import the third world? Why don't we do a program to subsidize that? Interesting. So the temporary foreign worker program, where massive corporations like Tim Hortons, Walmart, Home Depot, Canadian Tire, McDonald's, A&W, they can hire these temporary foreign workers for half of the wage. So instead of paying $18 an hour, they pay $9. The government subsidizes the other $9 because we need labor. We have a labor shortage. Well, the government paying that $9 is you paying that $9 an hour because the government does not produce anything. It only takes and redistributes, which today they don't even redistribute. They just take and then they steal. But so I've heard so many people in Generation X, and for the record, I'm just in the millennial age range. I've talked about it before. I never thought I was a millennial. I found out I was a little bit chapped. But anyway, I hear Generation X people talk all the time about how young Canadians are lazy. They don't want to work. They think they're better than working minimum wage jobs. I saw a stat the other day that was youth in Canada under 25 have like a 30% unemployment rate between like 18 and 25. And I thought, well, I'm going to say it. I can't remember the last time I saw a real Canadian-looking person, a white Canadian, a historical Canadian, working at a major corporation. And if I was to put myself in the shoes of the corporation, why would I pay you $18 an hour with benefits, with perks, and your attitude and expectations when I can hire the temporary foreign workers for half the cost, right? If I'm a business owner and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm barely getting by, I'm sorry, I'm going to hire the temporary foreign workers. It's just business. Right? These businesses don't have a blue cross above their door, or they're not a non-for-profit. They're here to make money. And so this is where it comes back to why I find Canadians are just so stupid and genuinely the lowest IQ population on earth. I know Somalis have been designated the lowest IQ population on earth. I'd argue they're number 2. Canadians actually take the taco for number 1. And reason being, Canadians are very aware that we are being replaced. They are very aware that immigrants from the third world are being dumped into the streets off the boat, or off the plane, I suppose, and civil unrest and chaos is coming throughout the streets and throughout society. Canada does not look like Canada anymore. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, the elections are fake. The elections are rigged, and if you think the last election was real and was not rigged, you are out to lunch and you're beyond saving. The only way to vote your way out is to vote with your money and vote with your dollars. Because at the end of the day, these corporations need your money. And so when all of you people complain, oh my God, Canada doesn't look like Canada anymore. It's being taken over by immigrants. It's being taken over by the third world. But the lineup to Tim Hortons is still around the corner. There's still 30 of you every single morning waiting for your double-double, which is dog shit coffee, and your breakfast sandwich, supporting exactly that. If you did not go to Tim Hortons or the big corporations, they would have no business and they'd have to reevaluate.
But if you agree and you support the creation of this content, there is a Patreon link and a YouTube channels member down below. You can click that to support this channel. Thank you for watching. See you soon.